Good evening. My name is David Meyers. I'm the president of the Tufts University Alumni Association. I'd like to welcome all of our honorees, their family and their friends, my fellow alumni, and other members of the Tufts community. I'd like to especially welcome Bill O'Reilly, who's a longtime member of the Alumni Council, one of a number of our former presidents who's here today, and a former winner of our Distinguished Service Award. Currently, Bill is the vice chairman of the Tufts University Board of Trustees. 12 days ago, we gave out awards to some outstanding seniors, a dozen of them, in fact, recognizing their academic, athletic, and community achievements. At the end of that ceremony, I challenged them to think about what they were going to do next, and some of them are here tonight, so you have a chance to meet them. It seems only fitting that just 2 weeks later, we've gathered to honor some of our alumni with our Alumni Award for what they've done since graduation. We're going to now honor their achievements, their service, their dedication of some truly extraordinary Tufts alumni. These awards now are marking their 76th anniversary. If you haven't seen the posters lining the back of the room, they highlight some of the award winners from past years. If you haven't seen them, please, before you leave, walk by and read some of their stories, but I will highlight just a couple for you now. In 1941, the year the Alumni Awards program was established, we honored Edith Bush, the first female professor to teach in the College of Engineering at Tufts. Then there's Ursula Marvin, a preeminent planetary geologist who was an early champion for women in the sciences. Leslie Gelb, a journalist and diplomat who won the Pentagon's Distinguished Service Medal. Dr. Max Tischler, known for his development of economical processes for the mass production of penicillin, cortisone, and streptomycin. Chester Hairston, the grandson of slaves who became a notable music director, actor, and radio star. Astronaut Fred Houck, who piloted his first shuttle flight in 1983. There's a poster that lists all of our honorees from 76 years in the back of the room. Please take a look at it on your way out. I'd like to especially thank our awards committee. They've done some extraordinary work this year selecting the winners tonight and from our senior awards, and a number of them are here tonight. I'd like to thank them for their service. Among them are Peter Brodeur, Linda Dixon, Bud Guzzi, Peter Horahan, Bob Kennison, Carolyn Kroll, Yulia Korovikov, and Ann Palmieri. Thank you all for your service. I'd also like to honor the chairwoman of that committee, Nancy Pinn, who's with us tonight, who you'll see up here in a few minutes. Nancy, thank you. There's one final alum that I'd like to recognize before we get into the awards. Joining us tonight is David F. Pollard, seated here in our front row. David is here with two of his 5 children, Bain and Sarah. David is among our oldest living alumni, graduating in 1940, magna cum laude and Phi Beta Kappa. David was co-captain of the track team and for many years held the record for the shot put. Thank you for being with us and welcome back to campus. So now I'd like to begin with our first awards for Young Alumni Achievement and the Young Alumni Service Awards. For each of the honorees, after I call your name, we'll read your citation, then please join us up here to share your remarks. Christina Sass. Christina Sass, we are humbled to honor you for your exceptional contributions to making the world a better place. From co-founding Andela, a global organization to train future generations of technology experts, to your work in China, Kenya, and the West Bank, to your work with the Clinton Global Initiative, the MasterCard Foundation, the NYU Stern Center for Business and Human Rights, the Global Give Back Circle, and the Utaloy International Youth Program, your determination and selflessness are exemplary. You say that you live by Aristotle's wise words. We are what we repeatedly do. Excellence, then, is not an act but a habit, and your drive for excellence is stirring. As the co-founder and COO of Andela, founded on the idea that brilliance is evenly distributed but opportunity is not, your efforts to find the next generation of global technology leaders are impressive. Your goal of training 100,000 world-class software developers in Africa over the next 10 years is commendable. This is increasingly possible given the $24 million Andela received from the Mark Zuckerberg Priscilla Chan Foundation or Fund in 2016. We admire your commitment to empowering women in particular. Not satisfied with the low rate of female applicants, 20%, you started all-female boot camps, free 2-week training programs in which experts teach the basics to potential female applicants. Your list of awards is exceptional, from being one of 78 honorees for for the New York Business Journal's inaugural Women of Influence Awards in 2014, to one of the 2015 Business Insider 23 Most Innovative, Inspiring Women in New York City Tech. You inspire us. For your leadership in developing the global technology leaders of the future, the Tufts University Alumni Association is proud to present you with the 2017 Young Alumni Achievement Award. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. It's really an honor to be here. When I graduated from the Fletcher School at Tufts, it was May of 2009. And in the middle of an economic downturn, others were making a lot of very tough decisions and hiding away their savings. And I, on the other hand, to the great concern of my mother, had a shiny new master's degree in global diplomacy and a massive, huge loan to pay back at that time. It was a really tough decision, and in retrospect, it was one of the best decisions that I've ever made in my life. At Fletcher, I immediately found my tribe. I was, in my orientation class, I sat next to the assistant finance minister for South Korea, who was about to be my classmate. So after I was assured that I was not indeed an admissions mistake, I really found that I'd entered into a new world of possibilities where the places that I was looking and where I could go was just dramatically different. It's not that the Fletcher School advanced my career or gave me a slight advantage to my peers. It did nothing short of catapulting my career path and really shifting and changing my global mindset about what was possible. And it's because of the path of myself and some of my Fletcher friends that I'm so impressed and so deeply honored to be here today. Although I have to tell you, my team at Andela knows that I had an existential crisis about a year ago when I was offered the 40 Under 40 Alumni Award from my undergraduate institution, which I was devastated to receive. So let me just say that I'm truly delighted, and I'm going to call it the Very Young Alumni Award here at Tufts. One of the things I loved most about my time here is the extraordinary leadership at the time under Dean Bosworth and University President Larry Bacow. And some of the, when I visit Ashesi University in Ghana, for example, the code of conduct and ethics is just in the air. And you just can't, you can't escape it. It's part of the place. And here at Tufts and at Fletcher, servant leadership and the idea that servant leaders go out and solve complex global problems and do not back away from them is just, it's part of the ethos. And that is absolutely central to the company that I've spent the last 3 years of my life and hopefully many, many more building. Thank you for the introduction. Andela is based on a simple truth that brilliance is evenly distributed, but opportunity is not. And our mission is to find and empower the next generation of technology leaders across the globe, but starting in Africa. We're experiencing a historic skills gap in the United States with 1.6 million open jobs for software developer right now, and a historic moment where we can fill those jobs with talent no matter where they are based across the globe. And we really believe that Africa is the single greatest untapped pool of talent in the world. So in May of 2014, with the courage that my colleagues at Fletcher gave me, we put a pilot out to see if young people would be interested in this career path. And we had 700 people apply to our first class. And then we actually put some more effort behind it than our Twitter account, and we got 2,500 applicants. At the close of Q1 2017, we've had over 65,000 applications for our about 320 software developers. That's a 0.7% acceptance rate, or as one CNN reporter called it, the startup that's harder to get into than Harvard, but I'm sure they meant Tufts. And so at Andela, we find these extraordinary young technologists and we place them in high-growth companies around the world. This is a model that my friends growing up in Georgia would have thought was crazy, but my Fletcher colleagues have just, encouraged me to propel forward. It seemed very natural and organic to them. And so on March 9th, The company hit 500 full-time employees with about 300 in Lagos. Thank you. Thank you. We kicked off, we started in May of 2014. We just hit 500, 300 in Lagos, 150 in Nairobi, 55 in New York City, and a SWAT team in San Francisco. We have a 35% women software developer average against the global average of 7.9, and we have over 70 clients, most here in the United States, about 85%, but some across the world. We have raised $42 million in venture capital from traditional VCs, angels, and impact investors, with the extraordinary gift from Mark Zuckerberg and Priscilla Chang of leading our Series B round this last summer in July. What an incredible ride it's been. And at Andela, we do something that I learned here at Tufts, which is we set the expectation from day one that this is about global leadership, that this is about solving very complex problems that do not have soft or easy solutions. And that if you don't want this mission, if you don't want to lead and you don't want to serve others and do so by attacking these really complex problems, that this probably isn't the job or the place or the university or the master's degree for you. We really gravitate towards that, and we want to become a magnet for others like it. And so it's with that spirit that I'm truly deeply honored to be here today, and I would just like to say that in the years to come, if we can do even a fraction of what Tufts and the Fletcher School has done for me as an Andela, as an alumni unit, as a true family and network that you can reach out to. If we're able to do even a fraction of that, then I know that our developers will build companies and be leaders and be heads of ICT ministries. And so I've really, I've learned that and taken that from my time here. I hope to be cranking out servant leaders across the continent of Africa, inspired by my time here. So thank you very much. I'm truly grateful to be here.
Congratulations, Christina. Dr. Ginevra Jevi Stone. Ginevra Stone, we are proud to recognize your many achievements as a student, physician, and athlete. You graduated at the top of your class from Tufts University School of Medicine in 2014 and won a silver medal in single sculls at the Rio Olympics this past summer. These achievements, however, only tell a part of your story. Your commitment to both the art of medicine and the sport of rowing are extraordinary. After graduating from Princeton in 2007 with an NCAA championship in varsity eights, you won the under-23 women's eight and quadruple sculls at the World Championships. You entered Tufts Medical School in 2008 and were a vital and engaged student in your first and second year classes, while also training rigorously for the 2012 London Olympics. Your dedication to both your studies and your sport earned the respect and admiration of your professors and classmates. In 2010, you took a leave of absence to train for the 2012 Olympics. But alongside your training, you evaluated patients and studied the kinetics of knee motion at Mass General Hospital. You returned from the London Olympics, where you finished 7th in single sculls, and immediately entered the challenging final 2 years of medical school. You earned honors grades as a clinical clerk in several areas and finished your 4th year as, quote, one of the finest students your professors had worked with. After graduation, you continued to work in orthopedics, spending time in the operating room and the clinic, while also training for the World Rowing Championships and ultimately the 2016 Olympics. This past summer, your hard work and dedication came to fruition as you earned a silver medal in single sculls in Rio. You inspire us, Jevi, as you begin your career as a physician. The Tufts University Alumni Association is proud to recognize your outstanding achievements in both sports and medicine with the Young Alumni Achievement Award. Congratulations.
Thank you to the committee and to Tufts. It's an honor to be part of such a community, and it was fabulous to meet the other award recipients earlier today. Congratulations to all of you. When I started medical school in the fall of 2008 at Tufts, I remember the first day, I don't remember which member of the administration it was, but they said to us, "We accepted you because you were interesting people with other interests outside medicine, and we want you to leave with those interests in mind. We want to graduate retaining that other interest." And I don't know if they knew that some of us would really take it pretty seriously. I didn't know how seriously I would take it at that time. I had come off not making the Beijing team, and while I knew that I would pursue rowing in some form, having spent so much of my life being a student athlete, I didn't see myself returning to rowing full time. And then I went to class in the morning and rowed a little bit occasionally in the afternoon and entered the Head of the Charles in the fall of 2008, our local regatta. And a bunch of my classmates came to see, and I won it. And I remember coming back to problem-based learning that fall, and my classmates told the teacher right away. They're like, "Oh, did you know what Jevi did this weekend?" And it gives a sense of how involved the Tufts community was, even in the med school, in each other's interests and supporting each other. So I continued rowing, and that kind of sparked a little seed in my brain that maybe I'm not done with the full-time rowing. Maybe I should take this training relatively seriously and do it as much as I can in addition to my school. After all, I was a student athlete in high school, as most people are, and I was a student athlete in college, as 1/5 of my collegiate class was. And so how much harder could med school and training be? For the first and second year, it wasn't so bad. I probably didn't do as well as my board scores, step one, as I should have, given that I was training, but that's done with now. And Tufts supported me through the whole thing. And when I went to Dean Kulik in the middle of my second year and said, "You know what, I don't think I want to sign up for clinical rotations. I think I want to take time off to row," she didn't question me. She said, "Absolutely, we will do that. People take time off to do PhD work between their second and third year. We are 100% behind you on this." And I don't think I would have gotten that from every other med school. Actually, I know that I wouldn't have gotten that from most other med schools. So my classmates, we all took step one at the end of second year. And while they went off to their clinical rotations, I went off to race the World Cup a few weeks later in Switzerland. And then began 2 years of mostly full-time rowing, some research, some clinical rotations, and heard the stories of my classmates and realized they were getting a lot smarter while my brain was atrophying rapidly. But it was a great experience, and I learned a lot about myself, about training. I loved it. I ended up making the Olympics, went to London, said, "I'm an Olympian. That's great." I had the time of my life, thought that I was done, went back to third year 2 weeks later and started my clinical rotations. And I loved being in the hospital. At the same time, I missed rowing. And I had left rowing at a time when I was still getting faster, and I still loved training. And a lot of people, when they know they're done rowing, they still love racing, but they don't necessarily love training. It's the grueling part. It's the not fun part. It's raining. It doesn't get a spotlight. And when I was standing in the operating room or waiting for a patient to show up or this, that, I said, "I miss the rowing. I miss being outside." So I went to Dean Kulik again. I said, "You know, I came up to you 4 years ago and said I had this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Well, it turns out it's a twice-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and I think I want to give it another shot. I think I could get an Olympic medal." And I'm not going to lie, she was a little hesitant the second time around. She said, "This might influence your choice of residency. I mean, you might have an impact on your career taking this time off again because it shows that you may not be as dedicated to medicine as some of your classmates." And I said, "Yes, I know, I've thought it through. And I would be happy being a primary care physician. I'd be happy being an orthopedist. I think I'd be happy taking care of patients no matter the scale. And I think I'm going to regret not giving rowing another shot." And she came around to it, and I'm really glad I made the decision because the 2 years after graduating were incredible. I got to travel the world again. I got to meet incredible people, and I got to push myself to limits that I hadn't seen before. And in turn, learned a lot about myself. And after, in the last 10 months, I've gotten to share that experience. And that's been pretty special to get that time to reflect upon it, talking to young rowers and masters rowers and other people who love the sport, and even if they're not athletes, sharing that experience. So I do start residency in June, which is very intimidating because my brain is pretty much mush at this point. But I will be here starting my emergency medicine residency at the Beth Israel Deaconess in Boston. So Still close to the Charles River. You never know what happens. Don't tell them that. And then hopefully pursuing a fellowship in sports medicine and being able to intertwine the two loves for rowing and medicine by treating athletes. And my love for the musculoskeletal system will be able to be applied. So I definitely am grateful to Tufts for being able to support these two interests of mine and really letting me pursue both of my dreams at the same time, which is something that is amazingly special about this university, looking at the whole person and not just one segment of it. So thank you very much.
Moises Cohen. Moises Cohen, on behalf of the Tufts University Alumni Association, I am pleased to recognize you for the contributions you have made to Tufts and to our alumni through your visionary ideas. As a student, your contributions to the creation of One World, which brought together more than 40 student groups to address global poverty, and your creation and participation in the Tufts Idea Exchange, which provides a forum for all members of the Tufts community to share their innovative and inventive ideas, was just the beginning. As an alumnus, your creation of the Tufts Social Impact Network has brought together alumni who are working or interested in social impact careers so that they can multiply their impact, thereby allowing them to enhance the effect they have on their communities by connecting with each other and with students, and by helping them to grow as practitioners. Your very first event anticipated approximately 80 participants, but was flooded with more than double that number, and the number of active participants today exceeds 300. Moises, we are so proud of all that you have done, and we look forward to what you will surprise us with in the future. As Dean Solomon of Tufts College said, Moises is an outstanding representative of the values and ideals that define Tufts University and of what Tufts seeks in its students and alumni: a passion for public service, a deep commitment to civic engagement, and a desire to meaningfully connect with the greater community. On behalf of the Tufts University Alumni Association, it is my honor to bestow upon you the Tufts Young Alumni Service Award for all that you have done and continue to do for Tufts and the larger community. Congratulations.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. This is so great. I'm so excited and honored to be here, and I'm so humbled to be receiving this award alongside such incredible, accomplished, esteemed individuals. So congratulations to you guys. I'm a huge fan of Tufts. So I just want to start by actually thanking people who work so hard to make Tufts what it is: administration, faculty, staff. It's such an amazing place. So thank you. And I also have to give a big shout out to Dean Solomon, to Dean Glazer, who I think both had to run, who are, and to Saul Gittleman, who is here. Where's Saul? Hi, Saul. Who are my role models and mentors. And to all my friends who are here, thanks, guys, and particularly from the Social Impact Network. So, okay, thank you, guys. So, my Tufts journey has been really, really transformative. I came to Tufts a few years after immigrating from Venezuela. I was raised by a mom who was also an immigrant, and my grandparents were also immigrants. So I grew up with an intense idea of what I was supposed to do with my life. And even though I arrived on campus with my family's expectations in mind, My experiences at Tufts really started a journey of self-discovery. And I have to say, I failed sometimes. I remember working to put together a board game competition for international relations professors of Settlers of Catan. That somewhat exciting but nerdy idea never took off. But other projects went well. I helped start the Tufts Idea Exchange, which still exists today, and it's turned into TEDx Tufts, which is pretty cool. And through some of these successes and failures, I began to understand the elements that would make up my own story. So after graduating, I did a year of service with AmeriCorps, and soon after that came a pivotal moment that solidified one of my key learnings from Tufts. So I want to tell you a little bit about that moment. Okay, so this is a pretty low point in my career. So that's a warning. I had business school in the back of my mind. I was feeling particularly ambitious. So I joined a startup nonprofit called Build. It's an organization that teaches entrepreneurship to at-risk high school students. And I was the site's first fundraiser. And within 5 months of my starting as the first fundraiser, we totally failed to meet the revenue goal. That actually wasn't even the worst part. I hated the job. It was boring. My manager clearly didn't trust me at all. And for good reason, I was doing a really bad job. And so you can imagine my time at Build was not going very well. So I was terrified for my future. And I called Donna Milmore, who had been my mentor and my Tufts career counselor for many years, who sadly passed away in 2014. I was probably crying during this phone call. So I called her, I told her how much I hated this job. I told her that I was worried I wouldn't be able to get into business school because of this job. And I asked her, okay, Donna, what do I need to do to get into business school? Maybe I need to be a consultant. Maybe I need to be a banker. I was so anxious that I'd have to change jobs so soon, that this whole thing would look terrible on my resume. And Donna said this to me. She said, Moises, you don't need to do certain things just so that you can get into business school. You have to build your own story. And then business schools will come knocking on your door. This is the essence of what Tufts teaches us. We have to build a unique path that is real to us and real to our purpose in life. Not just based on what we're supposed to do. If we build our own story, a story that is authentic to who we are, then the rest will just fall into place. This advice was crucial for me. I hired interns from Tufts and helped to turn Build around. By the time I left 3 years later, I had tripled the revenue. I hired a team of 4, and I really helped grow the organization's impact, which was really exciting. And this story was really true to my own path. And now I'm in business school. I'm at the Wharton School with a full scholarship. So things work out. And so this is important. This is why I've been so inspired to get involved with Tufts and to give back. Tufts has built this incredible community of students really building their own stories and leading a life of purpose. And as alumni, we all need to stay true to this philosophy and build our careers around our callings. This is why a group of us started the Tufts Social Impact Network, which is an alumni-led community for people who are interested in social impact careers to connect with each other and learn and mentor students, mentor each other. And this is why I've personally become so involved with Tisch College, a school whose main mission is to prepare students to have an impactful and civic life in their communities and in their democracy. I just think we are so lucky to be a part of an institution that values active citizenship so much. So my advice for everyone here, my unsolicited advice for everyone here, is you don't need to fit into a mold. Build your own story. Build your own story. Get involved with the Tufts community, and opportunities will come knocking on your door. So I'm so grateful for Tufts and for this award, and thank you all for coming.
I'm Nancy Pinn, Chair of the Awards Committee. Our next awardee, Dr. Harvey Levy. Dr. Levy, you have devoted your career to alleviating pain, promoting and providing a dignified and more comfortable life to countless patients with special needs. You received your dental degree from Tufts in 1974, going on to complete your residency at the Eastman Dental Center in Rochester, New York. After that, you began your own practice in Frederick, Maryland in 1984. Since then, you have pioneered the development of low-stress, effective dental care approaches for patients with a wide range of disabilities. Moreover, you have traveled across the country, generously sharing this expertise by delivering lectures and workshops to students, dentists, hygienists, and other practitioners. The national recognition you have received for education and clinical expertise alone positions you as a highly worthy recipient of this award. But it is in fact your passion for helping individuals with special needs that is truly inspiring. You have donated countless hours to supporting programs such as Donated Dental Services and Give Kids a Smile. Your practice routinely provides free care to homeless patients and other special needs patients. I can do no better than to quote from a letter from one of your patients, who said, "I had a mouth full of infected teeth that was leaving me very sick all the time. Then I found Dr. Levy's office. They had me in and out quickly with no pain or stress. I didn't even have to get out of my wheelchair. Everything was absolutely free." Your Tufts classmate, Mort Rosenberg, describes you as a tireless advocate and educator in providing access to care for underserved populations. Your contributions have been recognized by the first humanitarian award given by the Maryland State Dental Association and a lifelong learning and service recognition award from the Academy of General Dentistry. For your significant contributions to dentistry and your passion and commitment to serving those with special needs, we are grateful that we can count you among our most distinguished alumni. The Tufts University Alumni Association is proud to present you with a 2017 Distinguished Achievement Award. Congratulations.
Delighted to be here today. Thank you so kindly for this honor. Before I share with you my prepared remarks, I'd like to ad-lib something that happened to me today. I was invited to meet with the fourth-year dental students last night, which I did, and that was a delight, and I chatted with many of them. And today I was asked to give a lunch and learn to the third-year students, which I was pleased to do. I've done this hundreds of times before, but I've never been into a room with no projector. So I put my thumb drive in my pocket and said, okay, what questions do you have? I was there to entertain them, of course, so they had no questions. So I winged it and offered 2 bits of advice. Since Moses was offering advice, I was doing the same. But I'd like to share the 2 things that I shared with the students today on ad lib. First, I said, I'm going to quote from 2 people. One is very famous and very dead. The other one's very alive and not very famous at all. First was Aristotle. For the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by doing them. For the things we have to learn before we can do them, we learn by doing them. Like, okay, that's interesting. Who's the second guy? I raised my hand and said, is there anyone here from South Carolina? Is there anyone here from South Carolina? If anyone's here from South Carolina, forgive me for using your state in an acronym, but the acronym of what I wanted to teach the students was South Carolina Sexually Transmitted Diseases. They looked at me like I was from Mars, and I said, no, it's an acronym, SCSTD. Well, what does that stand for, Dr. Levy, your honored professor? Well, S is be a sponge. While you're in school, be a sponge, absorb as much as you can. And then be a crab. Get your hands out of your pocket and touch everything. While it's a safe environment, touch everything. The mistakes you made now are being well supervised. You don't want to make them out in the public where the penalty is a lot higher. And S, be a student. Take courses of things you have no interest in because you'll never know where the correlations come. And then fourthly, be a teacher. Because the best way to learn something is to have to teach. In both the University of Maryland, where I teach, and in my martial arts studios where I teach, if I want someone to learn something and I'm tired of teaching them, what I will do is I'll say, I want you to teach somebody younger this technique or this procedure. When this student teaches somebody younger, this is what happens invariably. The younger student learns a little bit, the older student learns a lot. So teach as much as you can as the best way to learn. And finally, D, be different. Be different and create a niche. Because if you're the same as all your competitors and colleagues and people down the street, why would anyone drive past 20 other offices to come to yours? Is it because you're better looking or prettier or cheaper? No, it's because you're offering something that they are not. You are different. One of the students asked me my key to success, and it was create a niche. Do something that the other people are not doing. And that's what I have done, whether by evolution or revolution. Revolution means something dramatic happened in your life. Evolution means slow and steady. For me, it was slow and steady. Now my prepared remarks, if I may. In 1974, Tufts Dental School gave me the tools. 1976, Eastman Dental Center residency gave me the skills. Since then, I have been so lucky to have been able to follow my passion, which is to provide dental care for patients with anxiety and special needs. My 4 years at Tufts were neither the beginning nor the end of my journey. They were an essential part of the continuum. My journey began in Munich, Germany in 1949, when my parents, Leon and Lily, gave me my first breath. My parents never went to college. My parents never went to high school. While they were attending elementary and middle schools, respectively, my mother and father were ripped from their families' homes in Poland and sent to the Nazi concentration camps. The education they received was to learn survival in the harshest conditions. For them, every single act of kindness was the difference between life and death. The lessons of kindness that my parents taught me, I apply every day as I treat patients and interact with my family, my coworkers, my friends, and my community. Extending a hand to those who need it was ingrained in me before I could utter my first word. That was why I chose to provide dental health care to those who need it the most, patients with anxiety and special needs. Tufts also instilled in me a passion for teaching. I love to teach. Did I say that? I love to teach. And over the years, I have been able to impart my passion and skills to many others through seminars, workshops, courses, articles, book chapters, videos, podcasts, and webinars. I've had the privilege to share what I've learned with thousands of dental health professionals, caregivers, and others. I thank Tufts for giving me the opportunity this coming October 6th and 7th to present my 12-hour course on treating patients with anxiety and special needs at the dental school. I thank you, Tufts, for giving me an opportunity to share. This stage, I need to say, this stage is not big enough. It's just not big enough to include all the people who made this award possible for me. I have to include my partners and my staff who help me every working day. My wife, Lena, who's also a teacher, and encourages me on my journey and edits all my articles. Thank you, sweetheart. My daughters, both of whom are teachers in Baltimore, who have understood over the years that there are times they just have to share their daddy with his patients. You physicians will understand that. Many others will as well. I thank my friend, Tufts classmate and residency partner, Dr. Paul Desjardins, for this nomination, and Dean Hugh for his support. I'm sure that Dean Robert Shire is looking down on us smiling today. Crucial to my being honored today are the thousands of patients you've been seeing on the screen who have allowed me to serve them, whether in my office or the hospital operating room or their institution, home, nursing home, hospice center. I have been privileged to have been given the opportunity to comfort and treat them with the tools and skills I first learned here. I dedicate this award to all the patients who extended their hands or their eyes in search of mine. I'm so grateful to them for the opportunity to assist them and comfort them. And finally, I hope to be able to continue doing this work for many years to come. Thank you.
Colonel Abigail Linnington. You are a leader, a teacher, a helicopter pilot, and so much more. Colonel Linnington, you're part of a long tradition of among the best of brown and blue graduates who have served our country. Over the years, Tufts has given us a range of service people, and you stand foremost among them, serving this nation. A graduate of West Point, you have a historian's view of tactics and leadership. Later, you taught international relations and comparative politics at that same school, going on to earn both an MA and a PhD from the Fletcher School. You have completed numerous training opportunities, including Joint and Combined Warfighting School, Command and Central Staff School, Basic Strategic Art Program, and the Defense Strategy course. You have served as Senior Plans Advisor in the Office of the Secretary of Defense for Policy, Special Assistant to the 38th Chief of Staff of the Army. While posted in Afghanistan, you were an interagency planner for U.S. Central Command, wrote for the Army Capstone Concept at U.S. Army Training and Doctrine Command, and were a joint planner at U.S. Joint Forces Command. To further burnish your outstanding career, you are an aviation officer qualified in Black Hawk and Kiowa aircraft. You commanded units of the 18th Airborne Corps, the 3rd Infantry Division, and the 8th U.S. Army in the Republic of Korea. Now, you serve as Special Assistant to the Chairman of Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Joseph Dunford, himself a Fletcher grad. You are also Director of the Chairman's Action Group. Your awards are many, including the Defense Superior Service Medal, the Bronze Star, the Army Aviation Badge, and the Air Assault Badge. You've been involved on the Council on Foreign Relations, the French-American Foundation, and the American Council on Germany. You have been an inspirational alumna of Fletcher and before that West Point, and a role model for your brothers and sisters in arms and those who wish to serve their country in any capacity. While we could not give you an action figure, which would seem appropriate here, on behalf of the Tufts University Alumni Association, it is my honor to bestow upon you the Distinguished Achievement Award. Congratulations.
Wow, I don't really recognize who we're talking about here, but my mom is certainly proud. And thanks you. What I feel today is just gratitude. This is an amazing community, and achievement is such a weighty word and not one I feel ready to accept. I feel like there are so many more things to do and to accomplish in this world, where we have so many geopolitical problems at our doorstep today. But the Tufts alumni and my journey on this career, Fletcher and Tufts has been a central part of. And I'm just so grateful to be standing here with you amongst these distinguished alumni and amongst these amazing other honorees. It's very inspirational. So I thought I'd share with you today who some of the people are that have inspired me and have taught and encouraged me on this path, in which Fletcher and Tufts played an immensely central role. The spark that really led me to know that I had found the right place when I had gone to West Point and sort of wondered if that was the right place for me was a Fletcher PhD, newly minted, 25 years old, shows up and decides she's going to teach West Point cadets about the history of the Middle East and the politics of the Middle East. You know, a little bit of a daunting task, especially to graduates who could end up there in the near future. And little did we know how much in the near future in the mid-90s. And Professor Ruth Beitler really sparked for me what any professor would hope, not only in their first year, but in their many years, to spark amongst their students, which was a lifelong passion for trying to figure out how to reconcile America's foreign policy with its interventions overseas and its military strategy. She introduced me to another visiting professor at West Point by the name of Dick Schultz, who heads the Security Studies program at the Fletcher School. And into the classroom, he brought some of the greats from this institution. Historian Layla Fawaz, and historian Andy Hess, and international relations professor of theory, Bob Faltzgraf. And how could you not be inspired to try and figure out the world when those folks were teaching you? And so at the end of my time at West Point, Dick Schultz wrote on my senior thesis, you know, you have to think about coming to Fletcher. And so for the next 6 years, and we had an argument about this today, he says I hounded him to be able to get back here to Fletcher, which I did, but you know, he encouraged me too. So it was really these Fletcher professors and these educators that inspired me and stretched my thinking in these new fields, like Professor Babbitt in the conflict resolution, the conflict management. How do we resolve these conflicts from a very, very different perspective, a different literature, a different base of understanding about how conflicts are generated than you find in the traditional security studies program. Professors like Tony Shays that really stretched my thinking in understanding the rule of law overseas and how we reconcile that domestically, which served me quite well in a way that I wouldn't have imagined trying to put together a rule of law task force in Afghanistan and reconcile a lot of our policies about how we detain people and how you support nascent institutions to grow in other countries in the rule of law. I was also have been inspired by the example of my family and my friends. My mom and dad are here today, and my brother and sister-in-law and my husband have all served in their own ways, whether it was in the military, whether it was as teachers in society, whether it's been building a business that is socially conscious. And those examples, not to mention my husband just full out making life as special as it is when you have a crazy career and you're raising two beautiful children together, that he has empowered me to be able to have this role together. So if the first decision that really changed my path was to go to West Point, the second major decision of my life to choose the right partner was immensely, immensely important to being on this path. The friends that I formed, these lifelong relationships at Fletcher, the peers that inspired me, like Lauren and Jody that are joining us here today, that were partners in crime to try and push you to try and achieve more than you thought you could in writing that 300-page dissertation, were coming from different sectors of society and different fields of study that I was not seeing on a daily basis in my military life, that was incredibly inspirational and pushing me to think in new and diverse ways. Finally, I have to share with you that I'm incredibly inspired every day by the people that I see, because in my current role, I have the benefit of going out and seeing where our service members are around the world, and where our diplomats serve, and where our intel analysts serve, and all the other sectors of government our development experts serve worldwide. We have 300,000 military service members serving in 177 countries around the world. Think about that. 300,000 uniformed military in 177 countries. And they're serving alongside diplomats and intel experts and development experts, as I said. And they have a tough job to do every day at the tip of the spear, as we call it, of US foreign policy. And so most of these service members are between the age of 19 and 25 years old. They are the implementers of these decisions that we serve. I mean, our other professionals tend to be a little bit older, but in the military, they're young. They're really young. I sat and had the privilege of talking with some of our ROTC students this morning, and you look at them and they are going within a very short period of time, they volunteered to lead Army soldiers in the next 2 to 3 years. And think of where those places are. And in this time, they have volunteered this kind of service to the community, and it's quite remarkable. And it's something to be extremely grateful for. So I draw inspiration from those people, because when I have the privilege of being able to have a seat at the table in discussing military strategy and how it contributes to our US foreign policy choices, we want to get it right. We want to get it more right than wrong, because we don't want to leave the people that are implementing that at the end. They trust us every day. They really do. And we want to do right by them to make those tough choices. So I feel so bolstered in being in this position by having gone through this school and being given the frameworks in which to unpack some unimaginable problems that we would not have known existed even 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago, because history may not be identical, but it repeats itself. I think that's Secretary Schultz said something along those lines. And you can see those patterns over time, and you hope you don't make the same mistakes as you make those tough choices. And I'm so grateful that Fletcher empowered me to serve in the role that I have now, has given me those frameworks, has given me that support structure, so that I pick up the phone and I come back and I talk to the professors and I say, what are you wrestling with? What are you worried about? How do we solve this problem? And then inspired by the students that are going through that continue this commitment to service and to active citizenship. I love this phrase that I heard today amongst our group with the civic organization, because I think that's really the synergy that I feel here at Tufts and at Fletcher and that I felt at West Point, which is really bringing responsibility to our actions every day. So thank you so much.
Daniel Paisner. Your name may typically fly under the radar, but your work certainly does not. Since graduating from the School of Arts and Sciences in '82, you have ghostwritten more than 60 books, with many of your titles finding their way to the New York Times bestseller list. This impressive career was likely no surprise to those who knew you while you were at Tufts. During your 4 years, you served as editor-in-chief of the Tufts Observer and were a leader in the newspaper, as well as the teacher of an experimental college course. Topping it all off, you found the time to write your first novel. Your first ghostwriting assignment came from a scholarship set up by a Tufts alum. After that, your career really took off. Lauded by New York Magazine as the most prolific living ghost, who else can say that? You are known for your amazing ability to listen and to empower others. You translate lived experiences into stories that inspire and create a sense of community among us all. Many of your books offer a voice to the famous, Denzel Washington, Serena Williams, John Kasich, to name a few. But you have said that the books you are most proud of are the ones that share the stories of seemingly average people who have lived through extraordinary circumstances. One such example is your work with Christina Chieger, a woman who lived through the Nazi occupation in Poland and never shared her story with anyone outside of her family before finding comfort in your welcoming nature. I believe that your daughters, Hannah Paisner and Rose Paisner, class of 2013 and 2018 respectively, said it best when they shared what they admire most about you is your ability to make people comfortable in otherwise uncomfortable situations. You're excellent in writing, your truly astonishing humility, and of course, your devotion to your family make us all proud. The Tufts University Alumni Association is pleased to present you with a 2017 Distinguished Achievement Award. Congratulations.
Thank you, Nancy, for that great introduction. I couldn't have written it better myself. I need to do, you'll have to forgive me for a moment. I think I need to do a costume change. I love the format of this program. I love how they start with the young alumni, then we go to the distinguished alumni, and we go back to the young alumni, which is great. So thank you for that. I wrote some things down. Let your life speak. That's a Quaker principle that seems appropriate here. And if you've passed through the portal of our admissions office the past couple of years, if you have children or grandchildren who've done so, you'll know that the university has been encouraging prospective students to let their lives speak, to show rather than tell, to live rather than audition, to move about the planet in a way that is true to themselves. That's a little bit what I try to do for a living, only I give voice to the lives and careers, the thoughts and ideals of some of our leading public figures, actors and athletes, politicians, entrepreneurs, ordinary individuals, as Nancy said, who've seen or done or experienced something extraordinary. They've got the living part down. Their lives are speaking loudly enough for them to land that book deal in the first place. But it can be an intimidating thing to render a life on the page, to distill a lifetime of accomplishments, of success and struggle into a page-turning story or coherent narrative. They need a little help finding their voice, that's all. I've been thinking a lot about the notion of voice, about the power of voice, finding your voice. In many ways, I found my voice here at Tufts when I first set foot on this campus nearly 40 years ago. I came here wanting to be Woodward and Bernstein. Not one or the other, but both. It was the era of the swashbuckling investigative journalist, the fearless reporter, willing to stop at nothing to ferret out the truth. And I found an outlet for all that here at the Tufts Observer. The Observer, I covered campus tuition protests, budget increases, the Carpenter Hall fire right down the street, the push to build the campus center, our bulge class, for those of you who were around here in 1977, living at the Sheraton Commander. In fact, before, when we all met for tea for a little bit to talk about a little bit about what was going on at the university, we were in the building across the street. I don't know what it's now called, and I was standing with Tony Monaco, and he was trying to figure out what this building used to be. And I have a very specific memory of going to that building, which I think was like a Elks Club or some civic municipal building, and I went there for a rally that Jane Fonda appeared at because I was covering the efforts of our clerical workers on campus to organize through the National Labor Union known as 925, which is where they got the title for that movie 9 to 5 that she did with Lily Tomlin. So she came to rally the troops, and I got to interview her on the steps right across the building. So what goes around comes around. So while I was here, I met all kinds of interesting people, famous and infamous, and they came to campus to speak or perform. And when I would chase them down on behalf of the Observer to interview them ahead of their arrival, it would often work out that the only time they would have would be on the car ride to campus from Logan Airport. So I got in the habit of arranging to meet them in this crappy little Plymouth Sapporo I used to drive, and then I would Uber them out to Medford. And I can remember picking up John Anderson, who was the Illinois congressman, and Jerry Brown, the governor of California then and again. And I would take the long way back to the Hill just to squeeze a little more time with them in the car. And they were both running for president back then. And I can also remember driving Al Franken and his SNL writing partner, Tom Davis, from Logan to Cousins Gym for a stand-up gig. And who would have thought, flashing forward 37 years, that it'd be the comedian who might just emerge out of that group as the first tough speaker to ride in my crappy Sapporo to one day win the White House. All this time later, I'm still interviewing the famous and the not nearly so famous, but I never imagined that I would make my mark as a ghostwriter, taking a kind of back seat and working mostly anonymously to help tell the stories of all these amazing and sometimes not so amazing people. It is journalism of a kind, it is reporting of a kind, but it is also something else entirely. The people I work with are, for the most part, accustomed to being in front of the cameras, but it's the people who live in relative anonymity that I enjoy working with the most. The FDNY battalion commander who somehow survived the collapse of the North Tower of the World Trade Center while he was inside the building in the 7th floor stairwell. The young Polish girl we heard about earlier who somehow survived for 14 months in the sewers of Lvov, where she hid with her family and a group of a dozen or so Jews during the German occupation. The Alaskan bush pilot who somehow survived a plane crash on Mount McKinley, lost his legs due to frostbite after waiting 5 days to be rescued, and then returned to the mountain several years later and summited on his prosthetic legs. The world champion longboard surfer who somehow survived a childhood as one of 9 kids living in a 24-foot camper raised by a nutty, bohemian, Stanford-educated doctor father who decided his family would live off the grid and spend their days traveling the globe, chasing the perfect wave. The young man born to an American anthropologist and a Yanomami tribeswoman who somehow survived a childhood in the wilds of New Jersey and found a way to return to the remotest part of the Venezuelan rainforest and reconnect with his mother and his uncles and the 2 Yanomami wives his tribe had arranged to welcome him home. It is a privilege and an honor to share some of these stories, and a little bit thrilling to stand off to the side and watch as they help to shape our national conversation. Next week, for example, I will look on with great rooting interest as my friend John Kasich, the Ohio governor, shares his experiences from the front lines of the 2016 presidential campaign, sounding a compelling voice of reason and offering his take on what it might take to set right the American pendulum. His book, our book, Two Paths, America Divided or United, has a shot to shape our national conversation as well. And here again, it is a privilege and an honor to have had a silent hand in its creation. Forgive, please, the little product placement. Now available for pre-order on Amazon. Let your life speak. Indeed. Only in my case, it has been a professional life giving voice to the accomplishments of others. It's an honor and a privilege, to be sure, and it has its roots in my time here on the Hill. There are a couple of people I'd like to thank for me being here right now. We talked a little bit across the street just now about some of our mentors and influences here at Tufts and some of the shaping, formative moments we had here. And I had a chance to give a shout out to Alan Leibowitz, who was my English teacher of many times over, the same class many times over, which we were allowed to repeat for credit and for a grade. But I think I must have taken 8 classes with him by the time I got out of here. He liked me. But he also gave us permission, those of us sitting around his living room where our class met, our creative writing class would meet on Packard Avenue. He gave us permission to become a writer, to dream, to read books, to celebrate the life of an author, and to have that feel to us like it means something and that it would matter. So my hat's off to Alan. And Saul Gittleman, who I saw in the back just now. Saul, where are you here? Through the stories you shared in your Yid Lit class, and the joy you brought in sharing those stories, it once again brought home to me the message that a writer's job has great value, and you can inform the culture in a great and lasting way outside those pages. So thank you, Saul, and thank you to you and Robin for being here tonight. I also want to say hello and thank you to Jen Simons, my great pal, who's over here, formerly of our Tufts Admissions Office, for nominating me for this great honor, as well as my now lifelong friends and fellow jumbos, and now our trustees, Tom Alprin, who is here with his wife Marcia, and Neil Shapiro, who's not here, I don't think, for weighing in on my behalf. I want to thank my Tufts friends and family, and I want to thank my actual friends and family, including my long-suffering wife Leslie, my son Jake, who's not here because some of us Paisners actually have to work for a living. My Aunt Lois is here. My niece Rebecca is here. She's a freshman. Say hi to Rebecca. She's one of our favorite young jumbos. And I also want to give a special thanks to my jumbo daughters, Rose, class of 2018, and Hannah, class of 2013. And their wonderful boy toys are here too. They're jumbo pals. Also Tufts folks, there's Najee and Jake are sitting with them. And our great friend Sudi is here too. Hi, Sudi. But I want to thank Rose and Hannah for finding some sweet things to say about me and making the case that their dear old dad should be counted among this accomplished group. But mostly, I really want to thank Nancy and the rest of the alumni committee, the awards committee, and the alumni committee for shining a light this way. And to all my fellow alums, young and not so young, who will be standing here on this stage tonight, for standing in that light with me. We are, to bend and borrow a phrase from our newly minted Pulitzer Prize-winning columnist Peggy Noonan, we are the 1,000 points of light on the hill. Together, those who have stood on this stage in the past and those who might stand here in the future. May we all continue to shine meaningful light on this special place and to lift our voices together in celebration of our shared legacy. Let your life speak, and hold on to my number in case you find you need a little push when you sit down and decide to write about it. Thank you all.
Chuck Rosenberg, you have devoted your life and your career to public service and indeed the pursuit of justice. In law enforcement, in public safety, and in the Justice Department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, you've touched many areas. In your current role As acting administrator of the Drug Enforcement Administration, where you've served for nearly 2 years now, you have continued your dedication to protecting the safety and security of the nation. Your friends in the Tufts class of 1982 remember your warm smile and self-effacing sense of humor. They also remember your commitment to helping others, particularly through a fundraising venture in which you raised money for the Jimmy Fund by biking 8,500 miles around the United States. After graduating from Tufts, you went on to earn a master's in public policy from the Harvard Kennedy School and a law degree from University of Virginia. Beginning your public service career in 1990, you joined the U.S. Department of Justice through the Honors Program in the Tax Division, and soon moved on to become an assistant U.S. attorney for the Eastern District of Virginia. Your caseload there included matters of espionage, financial fraud, kidnapping, and murder. In 2002, you became counselor to FBI Director Robert Mueller, and then served as counselor to Attorney General John Ashcroft, and Chief of Staff to then Deputy Attorney General James Comey, now FBI Director. You spent 2 years as U.S. Attorney in Houston and then U.S. Attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, where you oversaw the prosecution of numerous high-profile cases. So your biking paid off in your navigation of the country. After spending several years in the private sector, you returned to public service, serving as counselor and chief of staff to James Comey at the FBI from 2013 until you assumed your current position at the DEA in May of 2015. Chuck, this is a truly remarkable record of dedication to public service, to advancing the fight for public integrity and for public safety at the highest levels of federal law enforcement. The nation owes you a debt of gratitude for your commitment, and the Tufts University Alumni Association is proud to honor you with the 2017 Distinguished Achievement Award. Congratulations.
Nancy, thank you for that introduction. I think you can tell from that I am utterly incapable of keeping a job. I don't think the nation actually owes me anything. I think I still owe quite a bit to our nation. One of the great privileges in my life has been the ability to try to serve. I say try to serve because we're all imperfect, we're all flawed. We don't always get it right. But one of the great things about my current job is that we get to try. I wanted to share with you briefly. I'm always mindful of the fact that the greatest address in American political history was delivered by Abraham Lincoln in 272 words, 2.5 minutes, 10 sentences, and I'm always somewhat reluctant to go over that. I wanted to share with you something that I shared when I was a United States attorney with our new federal prosecutors, when I was at the FBI with our new special agents, and today at the DEA with our new intel analysts and chemists and the like. They are the principles, the expectations by which I think we should live our public lives. Before I do that, I just want to say one word about Tufts. I'm sure I got more from Tufts than I ever left behind. Most important thing that I found here was my wife, who was Mary Howard, well, still is Mary Howard, technically, a year behind me in class, but ahead of me in every other respect that you may care to measure. All right, back to the expectations, and they're simple. First is, by virtue of having jobs in the public sector,
Colonel Winnington knows what I'm talking about. I expect people to work hard. I always tell folks that the Department of Justice, we're a little bit different because we have as part of our name a moral value. And so no disrespect to our friends at State or Commerce, but the expectation is that we do justice. Again, we're imperfect. We don't always do it as well as we might like, but for God's sakes, we try. And so I expect people to work hard. The second expectation may sound contradictory, but I actually think of it as complementary, that you find balance in your lives. Because we need you well and healthy in these public sector jobs. We need all of you all the time. So you have to find balance. My wife and I have 2 children. The oldest got into Tufts, but elected not to go here. She's an actress, which means we will be supporting her for the rest of her natural life. Younger one is studying physics in college, also not here, and has a reasonable chance of having a paying job one day. So 2 very different children. But you have to find balance in your lives. We found our balance through them when they were little, through their community theater for our daughter, through baseball and basketball. Our son was a pretty gifted athlete. But you have to find balance because you need to be well and healthy to do these things that we ask of you as a nation. The third thing, and maybe it's appropriate that we're speaking in an old Catholic church. What I'm about to say, however, I mean in a secular sense, not in a religious sense. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care if you're religious or not religious. If you are religious, it doesn't matter what you follow, what you practice. But we're all God's children. We're all exactly the same. There's no difference between any of us. And so it's incumbent upon us to act that we treat one another well. And we try and do it all the time. Although, as I've said in another context, we are imperfect and we don't always get it right. Then the fourth thing, and I'm really close to being done. Your great relief. The fourth thing. When I started as a brand new assistant U.S. attorney in the Eastern District of Virginia, my mentor, a man named Justin Williams, since passed, told me a great truth, and I've told it to those who've come after me, that we've inherited this gift of credibility such that when we stand up in a court of the United States of America and say something, we're actually believed. It's a remarkable gift. And then he told us, me, that it had nothing to do with me. It had to do with all the men and women who came before us, who were also handed this gift and who preserved it and protected it and ensured that it was handed to those who came after us in better shape than we found it. So my expectation is exactly that you protect the reservoir. You take this gift of credibility that we've been given by virtue of the jobs that we've been entrusted with, and give it to the next person in better shape than you found it. And then there's a corollary to that, so maybe 4.5. We're all human, and therefore we are all fallible. And therefore we will all make mistakes. And as my wife will tell you, we will make them a lot, okay? So the question isn't whether or not we make mistakes, the question is what we do about it. And I think we have to do 3 not so simple things. We have to identify them, we have to admit them, and we have to fix them. If we do those 3 things, we're actually going to protect that reservoir, and we're going to make sure that that credibility that we have inherited gets passed off to those that follow us. There's a basic theme here tonight. It's one of service, whether it's Christina or Colonel, Dr. Stone, whoever it may be, Dr. Levy. There's a basic theme here tonight of service. However we serve, in whatever capacity we serve, wherever on the globe we may serve, we're trying to give something back. That's what makes this gift of an education that we receive from Tufts a special thing, and what makes the people that I'm honored to stand with here tonight such an inspiration. So I don't think my nation owes me a thing. I think I'm still in debt. But I wanted to thank you for letting me be a part of the evening. It's a great honor. And back to you, Nancy.
Congratulations, Chuck. Dr. Tom Hedges You have been a leader of the Tufts Medical Alumni Association and recently served as president of that distinguished organization. Your desire to help others as a physician and as a humanitarian is evident in your frequent visits to Guatemala and Cuba. In Guatemala, you have done studies on changes in the optic nerve with aging and Alzheimer's disease. You go every year to Cuba to do research and training in neuro-ophthalmology. You are currently the director of neuro-ophthalmology at the New England Eye Center and a professor of ophthalmology and neurology at Tufts University School of Medicine. You've been on the staff of the Tufts Medical Center since 1981 and were acting chair of the Department of Ophthalmology. You've trained many medical students, residents, and fellows who have assumed academic positions throughout the world. You received the Residence Award for Teaching Excellence 3 times, which indicates how popular you are with your residents. You've also been listed in Boston Magazine several times as one of the best doctors in Boston. You always put your patients first and love helping others. Dr. Hedges, you're a perfect example of a Tufts alumnus who supports your alma mater, both with volunteer and financial commitments. At your 40th reunion, you became a member of the Charles Tufts Society. You have also been a member of the M Club for several great institutions. Additionally, you've won several academic awards and have written more than 100 publications. In summary, Dr. Hedges, you are deserving of this Distinguished Service Award because of your service to Tufts and to your community. You said to Carolyn Kroll, a longtime friend and member of our committee, "I have given my heart and soul to Tufts. I love Tufts." You are a leader in your career and a devoted Tufts alumnus. You are constantly giving back to your alma mater. On behalf of the Tufts University Alumni Association, it is a great honor to recognize your achievements and your dedicated service to Tufts and to present you with the 2017 Distinguished Service Award. Congratulations.
So thank you very, very much for this. I especially want to thank Carolyn Kroll for nominating me for this. I was trying to be cool with my notes on my, but I can't find my talk. So I guess I am older, getting the senior award tonight. You know, growing up in South Jersey, the wilds of New Jersey, as was said before, not far from Camden, now one of the most depressed cities in the country. I was fortunate, I was privileged. I was very active in my church as a youngster. I attended a Quaker school, and I hope I have assumed some of the values that I was taught at that time. And I was fortunate to have parents who, as academics, were able to take me around the world. But I was very fortunate to find Tufts and attend medical school at Tufts. I have to say, however, that my memories of that time aren't as warm and fuzzy as what you've heard from those who attended the Hill. We were down in Chinatown, and it was pretty tough. You know, we were taught by intimidation and humiliation in those days, the old medical method. But there was something special about Tufts that I think I had. I then went off to other institutions and was fortunate to be called to come back, and I took the job of my former professor. And in 1981, I started at Tufts, and I think my love for Tufts grew little by little over the years, especially as I watched the medical school really blossom and, of course, gain better facilities. Where we were was pretty raunchy. But now I think we can be so proud that we have one of the very best medical schools in the country with terrific students. And I'm so fortunate to be able to teach those students and it just goes on and on. They're just, every year, the students are just amazing. And as mentioned earlier, they're great teachers to me. I was never a very great student, so I depend on the students to keep me going. I want to just say that I've also sort of come to realize over these years that we have an amazing history. Tufts Medical School and the Medical Center are founded on the principles, I think, of the Boston Dispensary, which was the first medical institution here in New England, at that time only one of 3 in the country. This institution was founded on the principle of providing the best medical care anywhere, particularly to those with the greatest need. And I think this concept continues at the Medical Center. I would not practice medicine anywhere else. And I would like this honor to continue to inspire me to continue to do the best I can to inform our community and the greater community about this wonderful history that we have in the future. So thank you very much for this.
Ryan McCarthy, what would Tufts be without you? You have redefined the spirit of alumni engagement and led the charge for growth and innovation. Your imprint is remarkable in your accomplishments for your class, the Alumni Council, and the university as a whole. You graduated in 1975 with a magna cum laude degree in history and political science. You then earned a law degree from Fordham and have pursued a highly successful career as an M&A practitioner with Skadden Arps. Your tremendous talent for bringing people together around a common goal is evident at Skadden, where you are now a managing partner in the LA office. Top of your game in a demanding field, yet you managed to make Tufts a priority in your non-existent free time. You're the master of the 36-hour round-trip visit to campus, I need to learn that, for a key meeting or an important event. When there's a need, you assume the helm in getting things done and bringing others on board to maintain positive momentum. During the times of planning, you think creatively and seem to stay several steps ahead of the rest of us. No task is too large or too small for you. You've served on your reunion committees, on the Parents Leadership Council, on the Tufts Lawyers Association Board, to name just a few. You led the Los Angeles Regional Alumni Chapter and joined the Alumni Council, serving a 6-year term on the Executive Committee. Alumni Council President from 2012 to 2014, you took some great things and made them even better. You strengthened the committee structure, boosted council giving, inaugurated the biennial Lead It Summit for council members, and expanded the council's reach by bringing the Friedman, Cummings, and Sackler graduate schools into the fold. You're instrumental in advancing the growth and development of regional chapters and shared interest groups. Continue to encourage young alumni to get involved in leadership roles and build on the legacy you've helped to create. Even as you deserve to be able to rest on your laurels, you keep giving generously of your time and your expertise. The university and the School of the Museum of Fine Arts move forward on a transfer of assets from the museum to Tufts. You arranged for the firm to handle the transaction on a pro bono basis. Provided steady guidance throughout the negotiations and ensured the successful outcome of a complex transaction. As a result, you forged a new frontier for Tufts and confirmed the importance of a rigorous arts-based education. Brian, you continue to lead us all by example, and we're in awe of your dynamism. On behalf of the Tufts University Alumni Association, it is my honor to bestow upon you the Tufts Distinguished Service Award. Congratulations.
Thanks for those really super kind remarks, and congratulations to my fellow honorees. This award is really special to me. I'd like to thank the Alumni Association, an organization that's very dear to my heart, the members of the hardworking awards committee. I know that because I once was on it, under the leadership of Nancy Penn, and of course the Alumni Association as a whole, and its president, my friend, it's very able. Little did I know that when I graduated from Tufts in 1975, that my alma mater's Alumni Association would become such an important part of my life. My wife, Shelley, who's here tonight, who is a proud jumbo, also from the class of 1975 and a BSOT, and I met her, by the way, on the second day of school, was all the Alumni Association connection I thought I needed at the time. But as time went by, we both came to grow in the realization that Tufts was a very special place and that the university was on the march. When we moved to California in 1983, like many alums, we did interviews for TAP and attended a few events put on by a small but very rabid group of local alums. But we were frankly busy building our careers and growing a family, and those were the main focus of our lives. As college age approached for our children, Kylie and Bryn, we became more focused on Tufts and decided to get more involved in the local LA chapter. Now that was a good strategy because it turned out that Kylie wound up coming here and graduating in 2007. What we found was amazing. A group of people of all ages, okay, most of them were younger than us, who shared a common Medford-Somerville experience and who were dedicated to increasing the Tufts profile in the hinterlands of Los Angeles. We also came from New Jersey at the time, so we know about the hinterlands from there. And they were also dedicated to having fun along the way. We watched from a front row seat as Tufts' reputation in California grew and grew among parents and high school students to the point where California today is the second largest feeder state of applicants to Tufts. All those Tufts license plates that we gave away at events that wound their ways onto the freeways have really done the job. As we got more involved and new friendships were born and a realization came that Tufts wasn't just about the 4 years we spent on campus, but in fact, it was a lifelong connection that can be rich in content and rewarding in experience if you made the investment, and Shelley and I did. Saul Gittiman likes to say, you pay for the first 4 years and the next 60 are free. I actually think he said 40, but I like to expand it a little bit when we... The next 60 are free, unless, of course, Eric Johnson and the Tufts Advancement Group comes a-calling. It is fitting that this ceremony is taking place in the Sonny Breed Memorial Hall. Sonny was my early mentor in getting involved in the Alumni Association and helped me sort through the many acronyms that exist. That was no easy task. She was so loyal to Tufts and interested in helping others that it was infectious, and I got her bug. Thank you, Sonny. I also would like to acknowledge a few folks in particular who've been very helpful guides along the way. There have been so many. The terrific staff members at OAR, both current and former, particularly Minnie Jacomar, who I still have on speed dial. Tom Williams, Jonathan Kaplan, Karen McCauley, and others. And of course, Tim Brooks. And what about Ed Ellison? What a great addition to the Tufts team. Thanks, Ed, for all you do. Also, my fellow members of the Alumni Council, it has been my privilege to serve with these dedicated people who work to represent Tufts alumni and to make their experience better throughout not only the country, but the world. It's been so much fun developing friendships over the years with so many council members, university deans, faculty, and members of the staff. In addition to Dave, I've learned much from the past presidents of the association. A special thanks to them. Linda Dixon, Maureen Golden, Bill O'Reilly, Ann Palmieri, Mark Alpert, Barbara Clark, and Kate Kaplan. Your leadership and advice over the years has been greatly appreciated. As I like to say, we have been blessed at Tufts over the past decades with a great administrative leadership championed by Presidents Bacow and Monaco. Forward-looking Board of Trustees, as witnessed by the decision to acquire and integrate the School of the Museum of Fine Arts, a program that will have a strong influence in so many other disciplines throughout the university. And I was pleased and proud to assist the university in that endeavor, together with the great Tufts legal team. We also have an excellent faculty that continues to broaden the minds of the people in their classrooms, and a student body that, well, is a bit academically scary. But the one constant throughout Tufts' long history has been its proud alumni. They are the continuous link over the years that together binds the Tufts of yesterday, today, and tomorrow with their institutional glue and the collective muscle to strive for and achieve new heights. I'm so proud to be part of that alumni and to receive this great honor this evening.
Jonathan Greenblatt. Jonathan Greenblatt, since graduating from Tufts, you have made a deep imprint through your involvement in a range of ventures, public and private, all of them having a deep, positive social impact. Graduating from Tufts in '92, you went on to receive an MBA from Northwestern. You've served on many charitable boards, created enterprises to solve society's problems, and taught social entrepreneurship. Among these nonprofits are the African Leadership Foundation, Kavita, Kaboom, and Water.org. You helped found All for Good, one of the largest databases of volunteer opportunities. Also, as a founder of Ethos Brands, you were pivotal in helping the Starbucks Foundation in its efforts to bring clean water to a multitude of developing nations. You were recruited to work for the Obama administration, where you served as Special Assistant to the President and Director of the Office of Social Innovation and Civic Participation. While there, you expanded AmeriCorps and the Social Innovation Fund, resulting in $1.5 billion in private commitments and innovations, such as the My Brother's Keeper initiative and the Joining Forces Impact Pledge. Perhaps, though, the most challenging opportunity in your illustrious career has been your relatively recent appointment as CEO and National Director of the Anti-Defamation League. Your interest in this path was initially sparked by an internship during your time at Tufts in ADL's New England office. We all recognize the daily challenges that the ADL faces with a resurgence of hate crimes and anti-Semitism that crops up. To your great credit, you have renewed the mandate of the ADL by emphasizing involvement with members of all minority communities. On behalf of the Tufts University Alumni Association, it is my honor to bestow upon you the Active Citizenship and Public Service Award. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Nancy, for that very nice introduction. And I want to thank the Alumni Association and the Awards Committee, and also my dear friend Alan Solomon, Dean of the Tisch College of Civic Life, who I believe is still here somewhere. It's wonderful to be here on campus at Tufts. I'm so proud to be a Jumbo, and I'm humbled and grateful to receive this award today. Being here on the Hill brings back powerful memories from a truly formative time in my life. When I was on campus, along with logging my hours for Tufts dining services, I found time to take classes at the X College, to attend services at Hillel with Rabbi Jeff Summit, whose compassion and warmth still enriches this community today, to write and edit articles for The Observer, which we heard about a bit earlier, to host a radio show, a well-listened-to radio show, at WMFO, to sneak off campus and buy $8 tickets and watch Red Sox games in the bleachers at Fenway Park, to spend time with my fraternity brothers from SIGEP, several of whom are here this evening. And yes, to intern at the Boston office of the ADL, as Nancy said. The education I received at Tufts allowed me to explore the world at my own pace, to investigate and probe my own interests, and to form a set of deeply held values, values that built from a core insight that I could change the world. I hope this potential will continue to be cultivated in students here on campus. In a moment when we face a series of seemingly intractable challenges, Tufts, and I think perhaps Tisch College in particular, can be vital instruments in addressing these issues and shaping the next generation, giving them the knowledge and tools to indeed then shape society. So what are those tools? It's a broad curiosity about the world around us, a curiosity that can lead someone from this campus to a Silicon Valley startup, to a bottled water company, to the C-suite of a Fortune 500, to the White House, and to the helm of a century-old nonprofit. It's the fundamentals of knowledge that are taught in Tufts liberal arts classrooms and honed in its science and engineering labs. It's the social skills learned on the courts of the Cousins Gym or the field of the Quad. It's the values that make our democracy possible: community, inclusion, equality for all, not just a respect, but a reverence for free inquiry, a passion for debate, and an enthusiasm for all who join it. Now, I don't need to tell you that these values seem to be falling out of fashion in our current environment. As the CEO of one of the nation's most respected civil rights organizations, I would say that we've really never seen anything quite like this before. Hate crimes are on the rise. Intolerance is on the upswing. Fundamental liberties and hard-fought gains secured during the last century, such as voting rights, LGBT equality, education equity, all of these seem to be at risk. The country's central institutions are being tested. Our free press and independent judiciary are subject to withering, unsubstantiated criticism from people in power. Truth is out, trolling is in. Instead of building bridges between various communities in our country, too many seek to divide us. Instead of embracing the tired and poor seeking refuge on our shores, there are those in power who seek to exclude them by subverting the sacred values inscribed on the Statue of Liberty. So I stand here today concerned about the civic health of our country. Tufts taught me to tackle challenges of this magnitude with the understanding that there's no silver bullet, there's no simple policy fix. Instead, we need coordinated and comprehensive, citizen-driven responses. We need balanced approaches that mix activism and advocacy, nonprofits and businesses, politics and principles. I carry those lessons with me every day. I would therefore be remiss if I did not share that I also stand here deeply concerned about Tufts and see a need for balanced approaches here as well. As many of you know, on the eve of the Passover holiday a week ago, the Tufts Community Union Senate voted in favor of a resolution calling for Tufts to divest its investments in companies that do business in Israel. This is part of a wider anti-Semitic movement known as Boycott, Divestment, and Sanctions, or BDS, that is attempting to make itself heard on campuses across the country. I, the ADL, and many others see BDS for what it is, an initiative that does not seek to resolve the long-standing crisis in the Middle East, but rather to perpetuate it by delegitimizing the state of Israel and denying the Jewish people the right of self-determination. In this way, BDS is an attack on the Jewish people itself. Now, I don't have time to get into all the details of this debate, but know that if you believe in a just and equitable and peaceful resolution of the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, as do I, as does the ADL, as do many others, then a simple read of the facts and a basic grasp of history demonstrates the necessity of a two-state solution. And that solution will not come about with BDS resolutions that foment distrust, distance, and demonization. So on its face, I find the VDS resolution passed by the TCU Senate deeply disturbing from all of my personal perspectives. As an alumnus who cares deeply about Tufts, as a nonprofit executive who cares about justice and fair treatment, and as a Jew who cares about the fate of his people. Now, some will say that this resolution is pure rhetoric, that this university, like every single other university across the country, will not modify its investment decisions or abrogate its fiduciary duty based on a student resolution. In fact, just yesterday, the Tufts trustees reaffirmed their commitment not to divest from companies doing business in Israel. But as I learned more about the process that preceded the vote and the actions that followed it, I must confess that I also feel deeply troubled by the way in which the issue was handled. Faced with an emotional and explosive topic such as this resolution, it is the role and responsibility of the university as educators to teach and guide its students, to show them how a respectful and inclusive debate happens, not to influence the outcome per se, but to guide young people with policies and processes that allow all voices to be heard and all views to be considered. By all accounts, this didn't happen here. The vote was intentionally timed right before the Passover holiday in order to reduce the ability of all the interested Jewish students from participating in the debate. This meant that a number of individuals were forced to choose between practicing their faith and defending their people. This was a shameful tactic designed to silence the voices of Jewish students in the pro-Israel community here at Tufts. Moreover, I have heard several firsthand accounts, and many of you on campus who are students will know this better than I, that the resolution's backers basically bullied those who abstained and condemned those who voted no with deeply and offensive personal attacks. Such indecent behavior debases the entire Tufts community. In the face of such a situation, it's vital for the university leadership to step up and model moral leadership, to teach the student body as it explores controversial issues and to draw boundaries when individuals or groups overstep. Yet again, right when this happened, that didn't take place. To paraphrase those of you who were paying attention at Seder last week, this moment was not like other moments. The emotional nature of the issue warranted more than a clinical letter written after the fact and buried on the Tufts website. The letter neglected to effectively address the pain that resulted from the deeply cynical tactics of the proposal's supporters, let alone the hostility of the resolution itself. The lack of empathy did little to soothe the punch in the gut felt by so many who love Tufts, but who inexplicably felt left in the lurch. And this was particularly challenging because Rabbi Summit and so many have worked so hard to cultivate right here a rich and supportive environment for Jewish students, one that embraces appropriately all of them, regardless of their levels of observance, one that cherishes all of them, whether they belong to AIPAC or J Street. And I applaud Rabbi Summit for his leadership. But what concerned alumni, students, friends, and community groups like ADL is that we expected and still need to hear now a forceful and public acknowledgement of the right of freedom of speech and the integrity of the TCU Senate, and that principles of free speech and fair play mean that all students should have ample opportunity to express themselves and participate in an inclusive and open process. Again, not to prejudge the outcome, but to preserve the liberty of open and fair debate. I encourage the administration to step forward in a more serious way and recognize the anguish caused by this action and the alienation it has sown among Jewish members of the Tufts community, both those currently on campus and those living in diaspora, so to speak. And if you are wondering what I am talking about, I would encourage you to reach out to other alumni, many of whom have called me in the week and a half since this vote and expressed their direct discontent. I urge the leaders on campus and the administration to demonstrate the humility to engage the community in town halls or online forums, to hear their pain with authenticity and to help with the healing. I would appeal to you to organize a task force that convenes alumni and administrators to review how this transpired and recommend steps to make sure it isn't repeated. And I would urge you to consider a code of ethics. Call it a covenant of active citizenship for student leaders, one that demands ethical behavior, that upholds democratic processes, and that creates accountability for those who fall short of these very basic standards. Now, I realize, I understand that it may seem odd for an alumnus to criticize his alma mater on the very day when I am receiving an honor from this institution. But from what I learned here at Tufts, that is exactly what you taught me to do, to take responsibility, to speak out, to defend free speech, and to demand fair play, to make arguments respectfully and forcefully, but also factually and rationally, and more than anything, to defend and support the university that I so love. In closing, let me reaffirm my gratitude for this award, and let me express the sincere privilege that I feel to still be part of this community some 25 years after my graduation. And for those reasons, I commit today to do whatever I can and to offer whatever expertise and resources we have at ADL to assist Tufts, its administrators, its students, all of its leaders, as you seek to learn from this series of errors to create a stronger campus and, to paraphrase a certain businessman, to put a light on a hill. Thank you very much.
I now have the pleasure of introducing Bill O'Reilly, the Vice Chairman of the Tufts University Board of Trustees, himself a recipient of the Distinguished Service Award in 2004. Earning his BA from Tufts and a JD from Georgetown University, Bill is now a partner at the WilmerHale Law Firm in the real estate finance, investment, and land use law areas in the Boston office. But that's not all. Bill has a long history of service to Tufts. A longtime member of the Alumni Council, Bill was a founding member of what was then called the Boston Tufts Club. He has served as president of the Alumni Association from 2000 to 2002 and elected to the University Board of Trustees in 2006, now serving as the vice chair. Bill is also a member of the board of directors of Tufts Hillel, and service that doesn't end at the university. Bill is the past president of the board of trustees of Beaver Country Day School in Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, and a member of the board of trustees and corporation council of Boston's Museum of Science.
Thank you. On your program, this is a point when Provost David Harris was going to make some remarks on behalf of the university. David had some unexpected foreign travel requirements and asked me to pinch hit for him. So I'm happy to do that. And it is a great privilege to speak on behalf of the university and the community of which we are all members, and to reflect on this fantastic celebration. I think that all of us are humbled by listening to the inspirational words of each of the honorees. And I want to reflect just briefly on what I heard, because what we heard from each of those 10 honorees speaks volumes. Christina Sass, you talked about family and network. You talked about creating servant leaders. And I think the number of servant leaders that you are creating will be remarkable over the course of your career. Dr. Jevi Stone, you talked about pushing to the limits, pursuing both of your dreams, respecting the whole person. And I think that as a sports medicine physician, you are going to be fantastic. Moises Cohen, you talked about building your own story, your unique path, and leading a life of purpose. Incredible wisdom from someone who only graduated 5 years ago. Dr. Harvey Levy, What I heard most of all was John Lennon saying, "All you need is love," which I think is manifest by your career. How am I ever going to forget South Carolina STDs, sponges, crabs, students, teachers, and making a difference? Just amazing. Colonel Abby Linnington, you talked about your journeys at Fletcher, being inspired by your professors to figure out the world. You talked about the civic organization we are, and I will tell you, authentically, I'm going to sleep a little sounder tonight knowing the role that you play with our Joint Chiefs of Staff. Daniel Paisner, you are a storyteller, a raconteur. You give voice to some incredible individuals who are inspirational. And I do think that you are shaping the national conversation by what you have written and what you are continuing to write. Let your life speak is what you told us. Very inspirational. Chuck Rosenberg. Your list of admonitions to your employees was amazing. Expectations for people in public service, work hard, find balance in your life, recognize that we are all the same and should govern ourselves accordingly, and then identify, admit, and fix mistakes. Unbelievably wise rules to be guided by. Awesome for someone who has given so much service to tell us that you still think you're in debt. To your country. Dr. Tom Hedges, you have an amazing story, and your inspirational words about talking about the amazing history of Tufts Medical School is something I had not heard before, and I will not soon forget. This medical school, based upon the principles of providing the best medical care, particularly to those with the greatest needs. That is an important part of our history, which I appreciate you calling to our attention. My friend Brian McCarthy, you mentioned Sunny Breed. I have to say that I thought of Sunny. She's looking down, smiling at you, so proud of what you have done. As you talked about lifelong connections and living a life that is rich in content, in part by finding so many friends and connections to what you have done. As usual, unbelievably gracious in your recognition of so many people. And I think as someone who, many, many years ago, when the Alumni Council was a lot less complicated than it is now, I served as a predecessor. I have a particular appreciation for your phenomenal impact on the partnership between the Alumni Association and the university. So thank you. And finally, Jonathan Greenblatt, you talked about deeply held values coming from a core insight that you and that we all can change the world. Tufts can shape the world, community, inclusion, and quality for all. You talked about rights being at risk, the civic health of our country being so important. And yes, I do believe that your personal views about Tufts are welcome and in the best spirit of free discussion and conversation between and among us. So thank you. So thank you to Dave and Nancy. Thank you to all of you for being part of this celebration. And a final thank you to our honorees. I don't think we could be prouder of you.
Thank you very much, Bill. Final congratulations to all of our honorees, not only on your awards, but also on all that you've accomplished so far. Thank you so much for sharing your stories with us. In a moment, I'm going to ask all of our honorees to come back to the stage so we can get a group photo. Before we do that, I just wanted to say that the jokes about young alumni and not so young alumni reminded of something one of my predecessors used to say. In DC, we used to do these young alumni happy hours about once a month. And the late Alan McDougall used to come to each one of them. And let's just say Alan was not as young as the rest of us. And I would ask him why he came when it's a bunch of young 20-somethings having a few beers. He'd always say that I'm young at heart. Now, while we can't use that criteria for our Young Alumni Awards, I think we can use it for inspiration. So you've heard these stories from these amazing individuals tonight, and hopefully we can each take something from that and realize that no matter how old we are, we still have an opportunity to shape our community, whether it's Tufts, our profession, or some other place we're involved. So it's a little something to take away from as we go off into the night. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to our honorees, your families, your friends, the members of the Tufts community. Have a great evening. Thank you.